Hey guys, welcome back. So we're about to start working on installing spherical bearings. And I gotta show you something. This is new. So notice this. This is the front of the wheel well. If you look at it like this, you see that spot? Let's go look at the other side. This is the passenger side. Look at the driver's side. That's steel. Clearly the tires are rubbing. Now what's funny is, if you were to look at this with the tire in place, there's a decent amount of clearance here. So for this to have happened, this has got to be flexing a shitload for that to rub. And this is new. I looked at this, not from yesterday, but from the time before, and this was good. No contact at all. So this happened at higher boost. So that's interesting. In theory, that might actually, I don't know if that's really it, but potentially that could be why it was steering all over the place. If one tire's rubbing, you know, it's like torque vectoring. You know what I mean? Because more torque goes to one wheel than the other because the tire's like rubbing. Anyway, it's like a giant brake. So that happened. That's another reason that we already knew we needed to change bushings, but that's another reason to do it. Let me show you the parts. So here they are. These are spherical bearings. They're from like VU Development. It's the same ones Flying Miata sells. I just bought it direct to save some money. But yep, here they are. I don't know how great these are, but they seem okay. It's kind of a pain in the ass to install them. We're only doing the rear suspension. We're going to leave the front alone, so at least it's less work. But I didn't buy the install kit. We're going to have to buy like a hone maybe, but we're going to try to do the rest of this ourselves. I think we'll manage. It's kind of straightforward, I think, sort of, but it looks like it's going to take a while. It's a lot of work from what I've seen. So you got to take all this crap apart, hone the cylinders to get the bushings to fit, or the spherical bearings, but then you got to like drill holes, tap them, put the things in, put set screws, take one out, drill another one to like put a indentation. It's kind of a pain, and we may end up like welding them. I'm not sure. I really don't like the idea of set screws. Just sounds like something that could like back out or strip or shear. I don't know. I don't really love that. So we may just weld these in, but I don't know how we're going to actually do that yet. And these do have Teflon or whatever. Yeah, Delrin or something. So if we weld them, we got to be damn careful not to melt them or fuck them up in the process. And of course, if we weld them, they're probably not going to come back out, or at least not without a lot of work. So there's that consideration as well. So we're not sure yet. I do have the crap to put them in with set screws, so we may just do that and see if it works. And if we do have problems, then we'll go back and deal with it. I don't like doing crap twice, but we don't know. Maybe the set screws are good enough. Not sure. But we're going to get this apart and get going. But I just wanted to show you this problem because now we got a real good reason to be doing this, because man, that alignment would have to be off by, like, if you think about the toe, like how far that tire would have to swing before the tire runs into that, man, that's a lot. So even though these are the polyurethane bushings and they're supposed to be stiffer and whatever, but they ain't nearly stiff enough. Not even close. So we got a good reason to be putting sphericals in it. Alright guys, so for the last 5 days we've been working on installing these spherical bearings, and they're in. So this took about roughly 15 hours to get the install done. Also unrelated, but our battery is almost fully charged. So yeah, it's at 17.7. This is the part where it's about to get all the way to full voltage, and then it'll go to constant voltage instead of constant current. But anyway, it's almost charged. That's nice. Alright, anyway, so suspension. The bushings, the spherical bearings are a pain. Takes a long time, but we did manage to get it done, which is nice. The one thing we deviated from, so in the instructions they tell you to use set screws to install these, and we did do that. We considered doing welds, we considered some other options, but eventually we just did it the way they recommend. However, these rear we only did the rear, we didn't do the fronts, but on the rears, the lower control arm, this is the one that's going to catch all the, like when the tire tries to go forward, this is the arm that can actually react that. This one up here, not so much, but this one, yes. This one especially not when you put a spherical in there, because it can twist. This doesn't let it twist. So this is what's catching a lot of the moment where the tire tries to like push the car this way. This thing resists bending. So obviously this is getting compressed and this is getting stretched. So anyway, that means the bushings have to be able to carry, or the spherical bearings have to carry that load to the control arm. So we doubled up the set screws, which wasn't too bad. We just bought a little bag of these so we'd have extras. And that was about it. Like I said, it still took like 15 hours. I knew this was going to suck, and it definitely sucked. So can't say I enjoyed that. Battery's almost there. So anyway, yeah, so we got those put in. We had to redo the alignment, which wasn't too bad, but we got that done. So our camber's at like 0.2 positive and no toe at all. And it makes sense to me because it's going to toe in under load, so we just set it to nothing for now. So let's see, that was done. We've pulled the plugs a couple times, but I pulled them again. I watched some videos on how to read plugs from methanol, because I remember looking at them and I was like, well, there's no like balls of metal on them, so it's not detonating. They looked really, really clean, which is almost concerning. I think the plugs are too hot. I just have a gut feeling these are too hot, but I don't know. I've already got a spare set, so the plan is I put the old plugs back in. I cleaned them up some, put them back in. We're going to get to the track, maybe make one pass, and then I'm going to put a brand new set of plugs, make a pass, and check them again. So I've got a new set of plugs. They're gapped, ready to go, and labeled, so we can just throw them in at the track. Let's see, we got our catch can drained. I'm going to make this drain automatically in the future. Basically just run a hose and tie it into the turbo drain. We don't have the stuff to do that yet, so for now we're just going to drain it on every pass. Oil level looks good. Actually, the oil still looks good. I'm kind of amazed. This 50 weight holds up so much better than the 30 weight I used to run. So that's cool. We did our nut and bolt check. We had to tighten the bolt on the gas tank, and then that trans mount, we ended up wiring the bolts, which I got the car on the ground, but just imagine the bolts with wires holding them. So those are probably not going to come loose anymore. We want to do something for a cold air intake, but we haven't got to it yet. That didn't quite make the list. So if you look down here, you'll see this bracket that just kind of goes to nowhere, that aluminum one. So what that's for, you can probably guess. There it is. That's for towing it up onto the trailer. So the last time I was at the track, I decided, even though I could have drove it on the trailer, I was like, hey, what if the car was broke and I couldn't drive it? So let's try testing out the winch. But there was nothing to hook to. And I eventually ran straps from the control arms to the control arms to like make a shape like this and then hook onto the winch with that. And it worked. It was kind of a pain in the butt. Now we got a bracket you can just reach under there, drop a shackle through the hole, which the shackle's in the toolbox, and then the winch hooks right to the shackle. So adds a tiny speck of weight, but frankly, it should have that. Plus, if I break at the track, I'll have that as well. Also, you can see here. So our charging system goes to 18.2 volts, so we're in constant voltage mode. You can see the amps has dropped from 10 amps to 6 amps because it's finally hitting constant voltage charging. So basically the battery is fully charged now, like 99%. Within the next couple of minutes, that'll probably taper off to 0 and we'll be done. So that's cool. Also, that was basically 2 hours, which means the last time we were at the track, this thing took approximately 20 amp hours out of the battery. Which that's actually not bad, because we got 105 amp hours of capacity. So, yeah. And we made 4 passes, so yeah, our battery's doing good. Okay, last time we were at the track, another thing, this damn key fell out. Now, it's my fault. I had run lacing cord from here to here, and it's that waxy type. And I guess just bouncing, and it got hot and melted, I don't know. Anyway, when I got to the track, the key was gone. We got a new key. And you can just imagine it, but there's a spare in my toolbox. So if we ever do lose this key, we got a spare. And this time, my buddy recommended using safety wire, so that's what we did. I was going to use something else, but hey, we got safety wire. Looks like it would work, so there we go. Let's see. So another thing we did, I could probably do a whole separate video on this, but so this car is running really good, like as far as performance and horsepower and stuff like that. I mean, this is doing well in that regard, but is it safe? We don't have an intercooler. There's not a lot of like, I don't know who to call to be like, hey, how do you tune a BP at, crazy power levels on methanol? Not a lot of guys doing this. So I'm just kind of doing what I thought would work. Well, I watched some videos on how to tune methanol, and I started looking at my spark plugs, and that's one of the reasons I thought the plugs might be too hot. Nothing's broke, so I don't think it's that off, but I went ahead and pulled 1 degree of timing, and I added a little bit of fuel. And as the boost goes higher, it's going to add even more fuel now. Basically, the FR table is adjusted. So we did make that change. it'll, you know, I don't know if it'll make less power, but it should be safer. So we did that. Let's see. Oh, another tuning change we made. So this car, it's actually, I've got it on video a couple times. 2 or 3 times I'll do my burnout, and then when I basically come to a stop and the car returns to idle, it'll dip. Basically it goes lean and it dies, which is probably a tuning issue, but there's an easy way to mask a tuning issue is to raise the idle. So for now, that's what I did. So before it had 1,000 RPM idle, I just bumped it to 1,200, which is quite a big difference, but should help. And I can't stand having a car that wants to stall, so higher RPMs for idle should improve that. So we made that change. We tweaked our launch control settings, so we'll see how that does. So another thing we've done is we've raised our tire pressure. So when I did the alignment, of course, I ballasted the car and then I set my tire pressures before we did the alignment. Well, this time I did 14 PSI on the tire pressure. So that's what we're going to do when we go back to the track. I don't know, I just kind of got a feeling that that's approximately where these need to be. The car kept getting faster when I dropped pressures, so maybe I'm wrong. But I just got a feeling a lot of guys don't run drag radials super low. You typically run these a little higher. So they're at 14. We'll see how that does. We didn't change our launch control strategy exactly, but I want to see how this does. One thing I did do, right or wrong, is I've changed my shocks a little bit. I had these at almost full stiff, and the fronts were at almost full soft. Now the front's full soft and the back's full stiff. We're going to try that. When I watch the videos, I can see the back of the car bouncing. So to me, it looks like it's under damped. So we cranked it up a little more. We'll see what that does. Not really sure, but we'll find out. Okay, I had to go check my checklist. I keep a list for the car, so like basically every time I go to the track, I'll have like a inspections list and then a short-term improvements list. So one of the inspections that I called out was checking the turbo. Just take a look at it. So I pulled the air intake. Looks fine. It doesn't spin quite as freely, but I think that's because it's just got thicker oil in it. But it spins fine, so it seems good. Didn't see any issues there. So yeah, that kind of wraps this up. We basically cleaned the numbers off the car. Battery just hit full charge, so that's nice. So we're about to put this thing on the trailer, and she'll be ready to go to the track. We're filming this on 4th of July, so in theory, if all goes well, we'll be at the track tomorrow. See how this does. I'm actually, you know, you never know till you get there and you test stuff, and I've changed a few things. I've changed my shocks a little bit. I've raised my tire pressure some. I put in spherical bearings. So in theory, I think it's better, but we'll have to test it to find out. But hopefully I can get some good times out of this. If I could get this car to like get that 60-foot time really good. The car was made, and you know, the car also goes straight and not try to change lanes while I'm going down the track. If those two things would happen, it was making enough power last time to have gone a 5-second high 5. Now I did pull a degree of timing. I did add a touch of fuel, but I doubt that's going to make that big a difference because I was probably, frankly, I was running like 26 to 27 degrees of timing at 29 pounds of boost. That's basically stock NA timing, so I don't think pulling a degree is going to like, you know, kill it. It's probably too much if anything. So that's our plan. Get this sucker to the track, see how she does. I think it's going to go. I think it's going to do well. I'm still worried about the motor. One thing we didn't talk about that I did do is I did a compression check, and it's actually a little lower than the last time I tested it. Now, the motor was dead cold when I tested it, and I think last time it was almost dead cold. So that could have been why. But the compression on this motor is horrible. Like the highest cylinder is like 130. The lowest, I think, is 113. So, I mean, this motor is, you know, the bottom end is shot. The head's fresh, but the rings are gone. So, she definitely needs a motor. That's another project I need to work on, getting a spare built. Because I'm playing with fire, doing this to this motor and not having a spare built. So, I got to get on that. That's not, I know that's not a good idea. But anyway, that's going to wrap this up. Those are the changes we've made. We're hoping to go fast. You guys stick around. Next video will very likely be at the track. So, hope you guys enjoyed this, and until next time, y'all take it easy.